College football is almost back, and the expectations for the Deion Sanders-led football team here in Colorado is off the charts. The Buffs took over sports media last season, but the hype fell quickly. They are reloaded with talent and are looking to break the Big 12 wide open this year. Welcome in, Buffs fans, or just college football fans, and thanks for tuning in to Buffs Banter, presented by Believe Network. My name is Dean Frank, and I'm here with my roommate and co-host, Oscar Gonzalez-Moore. We are super excited to get the show on the road here, beginning with today as our first episode.
Yeah, and before we get into the show, make sure to join the Stampede. We'll be posting shows twice a week so you don't miss a thing about the Buffs all season long. Follow and subscribe to us on all social platforms at Buffs Banter, or make sure to download the audio version through the Believe Network's website.
Oscar, I'm super excited to be here with you, man. I remember just a couple years ago in our freshman room dorm talking about this moment. And obviously, thank you to Believe Network for producing this, but we're finally here.
Dino, what a ride it has been, for real. I mean, we have been through so many ups and downs with the show, and now we are finally here on an actual podcast network. Never thought I'd see the day, but here we are, man. So excited to be here with you as well.
Yep, but not even close to being satisfied. And now let's just get right into it. The reason everyone is here and listening, Colorado football. Obviously, so much hype and expectations around this team. Obviously, we saw what happened last year. This year, who knows what's going to happen, but we are here to break it down. And starting off, I'm going to go with our segment that we've been talking about for a while now, and we're probably going to have consistently, going to call it Buffalo Breakdown. And today, we're going to be breaking down our expectations for this team this season. So I'm just going to start it off with you, Oscar. What is your expectations for the Buffs this season?
Yeah, talking win total wise, we've moved into the Big 12, which is much more weaker than the Pac-12. Not any disrespect to the Big 12. It's just the Pac-12 was loaded with talent and good teams and coaches. But I see the Buffs winning 7 to 8 games, which I know is optimistic. That being said, we have so many dogs we got in the transfer portal, which I'm excited for them to see. And we got Mr. Sanders himself, prime time. The culture is unmatched at Colorado right now, and I think it's going to translate into a lot of wins in a great season for the Buffs. How about yourself?
Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, people forget, just 2 years ago, we were a one-win team. And obviously last year could have been a disappointment in some people's eyes. In my eyes, it was a 400% win increase. And this year, I know we're kind of done with the hype. We're done. Obviously, we've gotten all that media exposure. So this year, we're here to win. And I'm trying to be as least biased as I can be. But my floor for this Colorado team, my floor is a bowl game, 6 wins. And my ceiling is at 9 wins. And I think we can get into that Big 12 championship game. And that is crazy to say, but it is a reality, kind of just like you hit. The Pac-12 was so much more competitive last year. There were probably about 5 quarterbacks that got drafted and are probably going to start in the NFL this upcoming year. And looking at this Big 12 conference this year, it definitely is weaker. Either way you look at it. Obviously, we have the Utahs, Oklahoma States, and the Kansas State that are probably going to give us a little trouble. But there are a bunch of winnable games this year. So my ceiling for us is 8 or 9 games, which is just crazy to say because you look at Vegas. Vegas has the odds at 5.5 wins. How does that make you feel?
It's interesting because you look at the schedule. I think we could beat every single team on our schedule. That being said, last year we started off super hot and it kind of just went downhill after the first 3 games of the season. So I think 5.5 is honestly a very good line. Vegas always knows. Vegas always wins. But yeah, it does upset me just because I would assumed I would have put the line myself around 6.5, maybe 7.5. But yeah, seriously, I mean, I feel like we could beat every single one of these teams. So I'm optimistic. And if I was a bettor, I would be betting the over.
Yeah. Come on, don't lie. We're both going to be hammering that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like the narrative that the media has on us this year. Obviously, last year, all the hype in the world, we were a ranked team, which is crazy to look back on, just how the year started and how it finished. But we're still underdogs. We were voted to finish 11th in the Big 12 this year, 11th. And in my eyes, we're going to go to the Big 12 championship. So it's like, I don't know how delusional I am, but I've seen how much better this team can get. And I'm going to transition real quick into just this offseason. We've had probably the best offseason in the country, 41 transfers, ranking at number 1 in the country. And we've only gotten better at we've only gotten better at pretty much every single position. Is there a certain position that stands out to you that you think we upgraded a lot in from last year?
Yeah. Honestly, the wide receiver room is super deep. The O-line room with Seaton coming in is going to be great. But yeah, just to touch a little bit on the wide receivers we got. I mean, Will Shepard, 6'3", 200 pounds, absolute beast. Regarded as the top 15 receiver, in the transfer portal. And you watch some of this kid's highlights. He is disgusting. He is just
from Vanderbilt.
He is just Randy Mossing everybody. So that'll be nice for Shedeur just to throw it up and let Shepard go to work. But also we got LeJohntay Wester, who I think is going to be our wide receiver 1 this year, depending how many snaps Travis plays on the offense. But yeah, he had a great season last year, a little over 1,100 yards with 8 TDs. And people are saying on the team, at least insider information, he's got some of the cleanest routes he's ever seen and is obviously already one of Shedeur's favorite options. How about yourself? What do you think has changed, or what room do you think has just grown in the offseason?
Yeah, let's stick with that wide receiver core real quick, because I think Colorado has a top 10 wide receiver core in the nation, and I don't think that's debatable. Talking about, obviously, we got the transfers, Will Shepard and LeJohntay, both bringing great experience. They've obviously scored. They've played in the league, they played in the conferences and whatnot, coming from bigger conferences than the Pac-12. But let's talk about Travis Hunter. I mean, no matter if he's on offense or defense, he is the best player and the best athlete on the field. He's going to do everything, and probably, even if not anything, double what he did last year. It's just, you got to stay healthy. So that's obviously the one part. And kind of like you said, we still don't really know if he's going to play more on offense or defense. And then additionally, we got Jimmy Horn coming back as well, who was a stud last year, and just coming off another offseason with the whole team. Chemistry is going to be building up. I think this is only going to be an upgrade with the wide receiver core. And then you go into the offensive line, which definitely was our biggest problem last year. No way to sugarcoat it. We had the worst offensive line in the league, giving up 52 sacks. Shedeur was scrambling pretty much every play. It was hard to watch. And we pretty much upgraded the O-line in every single position. Obviously, starting off with Jordan Seaton coming out of high school as a number 1 O-line recruit, 5-star. So that was huge. And I think just them being together for this offseason, it seems like they're having a great time. I mean, just looking at all types of videos on Well Off and whatnot. So I think this team is putting in the work. We can talk about the D-line. We can talk about everything. I think this team is just upgraded in every way.
Yeah.
And the main reason, though, and the main point really we're all here for, is Shedeur. There's so much hate. There's so much love around him, kind of just like, pretty much just like LeBron. I mean, I'm not going to put them I'm not going to metaphor them as the same player, but like,
oh yes, you are.
You look at someone like Shedeur, bro, and it's just like, so much hate comes his way for no reason. So when we look at it this year, what are your expectations for Shedeur in his senior season?
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think it's just like the Colorado schedule, or how many games we're going to win, just like the new coaching staff we brought in. A lot of this is super unpredictable, which is scary. I think Shedeur, ceiling, could be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, if not the best. But I don't want to give him Heisman appraisal quite yet. There are a lot of good quarterbacks, and I know he's obviously probably the most hyped up college football quarterback, maybe since Manziel, just with the primetime effect. But you got guys like Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milroe. Could we not forget how good he was last year in the college playoffs? Sure. He is a dog. That being said, you were just touching on, the offensive line is much better than it was last year. And this is really going to be a make or break season for Shedeur. Last year there were a bunch of excuses with the offensive line. Obviously he showed flashes of greatness, but now he's got it. He's got everything he needs around him. Weapons, a healthy O-line. So we will see what happens. I'm hoping for the best, but I am not as high on him as other CU fans might be or some media outlets, I
Yeah.
guess.
And just say that you're talking about me because, man, Shedeur, in my eyes, Shedeur has the stage to be set that he can be the first overall picked player in the draft next year. For me, the floor for Shedeur this season is probably being the Big 12 Player of the Year. The ceiling is being the Heisman. I know that's big hopes, but it's like in the matter that we talk about him, the caliber player he can be. Now he has that wide receiver core, and now he has a better O line. I mean, sky is the limit. He just got to stay healthy. But I think Shedeur can just. I think he's going to take over this season. I really do.
I love Shedeur. I do think the glazing is getting a little crazy, and I'm not just talking you, but let's see what he does, man. Let's see what he does. I'm just excited as the next CU Buff fan. You know what I mean? I cannot wait to
Sure.
see that kid on the field and just tear it up.
Sure. I mean, who am I as a sports media guy to not go through predictions and just be delusional? Because either way, who knows what's going to happen this year, but in this offseason, it's just like you hear so much rumors on media, you see so much going back and forth, and it's just like what's really going to happen? And we don't know. I mean, he could come out and just get hurt, which would obviously suck. He can come out and have such a mediocre season and just not like be a second round pick, which obviously would still be a dub, but like in my eyes, he's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL. And that's not even talking about Travis Hunter. But yeah, I guess just so we don't kind of circle and go back and forth, I'm really excited about this year, man. We pretty much, obviously, we lost a couple players in Dylan Edwards and Cormani, but nobody really that stood out too much that is going to break this team apart. We got our main core with Shedeur and Travis Hunter, best duo in the country. Is there any debating that? Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, best duo in the country.
Swaggiest duo in the country too.
Sure. I really hope we stay healthy. But yeah, I guess just as for our podcast goes on, is there anything that you're looking forward to this season? Any certain games? We're going to be covering every single game. So what stands out to you most about just us going on with this podcast?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we're going to be covering every game. I am really excited for the first game of the season, North Dakota State. They have a very interesting social media page where they
Yeah, I
make
saw that video.
TikToks and Instagram reels with their players, and everyone's saying we're going to come out and smack the living hell out of them. And I hope we do. But I mean, it's a bummer that the Nebraska and Colorado State games are away because those are huge rivalries that are always just such a blast, win or lose. Just the energy in those stadiums is unmatched. I think their best game of the season, though, is going to be the Kansas or Oklahoma State game. I think there's going to be a lot of a lot weighing in on those games as well as we get to the end of the season. Like that could be make or break for a bowl or, just fighting for spots in the NFL draft. Like that will be definitely a make or break
There's three
last
games.
two games.
There's three
Yeah.
games that can be a tough stretch too, looking at Utah. But I agree. I wish that Colorado State game was back at Folsom Field. Bro, remember last year? I mean, you guys listening will definitely remember this if you're a Buff fan, but the game was on like until 1 a.m. Colorado time. So that's like 3 a.m. East Coast time. Everyone in the world is watching and getting that dub in overtime. And obviously, there are rivals. So there's so much bad blood there. We got to go to that game in person. We got to figure that one out. But yeah, looking at obviously Nebraska scares me too. They got a really good freshman quarterback, but I do think anything can happen. I know that I'm definitely going to hammer that 5.5. That's all I know. I don't care I don't know how much I'm going to bet this season. Obviously, you kind of know what's happened with me in betting. We won't go too much into that, but from the podcast point of view, I just can't wait to cover each single game. I mean, I feel like we'll grow just communication skills and just journalism skills and whatnot. And us just talking, kicking back. It's kind of how we started this podcast. So, just us having a platform now, being consistent, making it a little more serious than it kind of has been in the past. And yeah, I mean, we'll put some in. We haven't even hit our limit yet. You know what I mean? Sky is the limit.
Yeah. And as serious as this is, it's also cool because we are just two dudes, two students at Colorado Boulder trying to give the most authentic Boulder experience you can. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
that's what we want to bring you guys and the rest of the world. So I'm super excited.
Sweet. I will close it off. We appreciate you guys tuning in to Buffs Banter. Make sure to listen to our next show where we're going to dive into the pressure on Coach Prime this season. Make sure to follow and subscribe to our show on all platforms in order to stay updated as we chop up everything going on with the Colorado football team.